Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. In this video, I'm going to present our work in which we offer a quasi-order-based perspective on residual automata. The purpose of this work is to show that residual automata can be studied using quasi-orders, and actually these quasi-orders are fundamental to residual automata in a similar way as congruences are fundamental to deterministic automata. So let's start by showing why residual automata are an interesting class of automata. So finite state automata are used as finite representation of regular languages, and they can typically be either deterministic or non-deterministic. Now, an automaton is said to be deterministic if for every state and every symbol in the alphabet, there exists at most one transition leaving that state and label with that symbol. Typically, DFAs, deterministic automata, are easier to manipulate than non-deterministic ones, but they tend to be larger and they can actually be exponentially larger. More precisely, when manipulating deterministic automata, we face decision problems that are going to be solvable in polynomial time. Also, there exists a connection between states of the automaton and natural components of the language. In particular, the connection exists between the states and the quotients of the language. Moreover, when we work with deterministic automata, there exists the notion of a minimal deterministic automaton, meaning that for every language, we can find a minimal deterministic automaton that is unique modulo isomorphism. However, the price we have to pay in order to have all these advantages is the fact that we are going to be manipulating larger automata. On the other hand, when working with non-deterministic automaton, we have a more concise representation, meaning the non-deterministic automata are smaller than the deterministic ones, but we lose the other three advantages of deterministic automata. That means that we no longer have the notion of a minimal unique non-deterministic automaton, we lose the relation between the states and natural components of the language, and now we are going to be facing decision problems that are going to be p-space complete. Now, the class of residual automata appears as something that lays in between deterministic and non-deterministic ones and aims at taking the best from both worlds. So the class of residual automata, which contains the class of deterministic ones, was introduced by Dennis in the year 2000, and they satisfy the three main properties. So every state can be associated with a natural component of the language, which again is the quotient of the language. We still have concise representation, meaning that residual automata are smaller than deterministic ones. And we also have the fact that there exists a minimal form. There exists a residual automaton that is minimal in the number of states and its unique modulo isomorphism. This class of residual automata shares some similarities with deterministic ones. In particular, given a regular language, we can find a minimal deterministic automaton that generates that language. And similarly, we can also find a minimal residual automaton that generates that language. Now, as it was defined by Dennis, this minimal residual automaton for a given language, it's also known as the canonical automaton for that language. In order to compute the minimal deterministic automaton, we have the well-known double reversal method. That method says that given an input automaton, you can reverse determinize, reverse, and determinize it again, and you obtain the minimal deterministic automaton that generates the same language as the input automaton. Now, Dennis showed that the same double reversal method holds for residual automata. In particular, then he saw that given an input automaton, if you reverse, residualize, reverse, and residualize it again, you obtain the minimal residual automaton that generates the same language as the input automaton. Actually, the residualization operation defined by Dennis is a variation of the well-known subset construction used for determinization. The main idea is that once we have done the subset construction, we will remove those set of states that can be described as the union of other set of states. That's the reason that the residual automaton built using this method are going to be smaller than the corresponding deterministic ones. The goal of our work is to analyze this residual automata and offer a new language theoretical insights on the residualization operation and the double reversal method used for building the canonical residual automaton. This work is built on top of some previous work that we presented in this same conference last year. In that work, we use equivalence relations to look at deterministic automata and offer a new perspective of the double reversal method for building the minimal deterministic automaton. The idea in that work is that given an equivalence relation, we build a partition of sigma star. Now, the blocks of that partition will be used to build a deterministic automaton that generates a given language. To do that, we need a language that can be described precisely as a union of some blocks of the partition. Then we can use the blocks of the partition to build the automaton, where each block is going to be a state of the automaton. The initial state will be the only block that contains epsilon, and the final states will be all those blocks whose union generates the language L. In order to define the transitions, we look at whether the set of words in one block, when concatenated with a symbol, produces a set that is included in another block. When that happens, we establish a connection between these two blocks, meaning that we add a transition in the automaton that connects the states corresponding to those blocks. The resulting automaton is a deterministic automaton that generates precisely the language L. The automaton is deterministic because equivalence relations induce partitions where the blocks are disjoint. Therefore, the set of words that we obtain when concatenating one block with a symbol can only be contained in one of the blocks. In our previous work, we used this construction to offer a simple proof of the double reversal method for building the minimal deterministic automaton. Now, in this work, we follow the same approach, but instead of using equivalence relation on words, we are going to use quasi-orders. Using these quasi-orders, we create also a series of blocks, but in this case, those blocks are not disjoint. For instance, we can have a situation like this one, where this block and this other block intersect. We say that we consider finite quasi-orders, meaning that we consider quasi-orders such that with a finite number of blocks, we can cover the whole sigma star. Now, we are going to follow the same approach as we did for deterministic automata. Now, instead of considering all those blocks as states, we are going to consider only the blocks that cannot be described using other ones. Meaning, we are going to consider only prime blocks, and we are going to discard what we call composite blocks. For instance, we say that this block is composite since it is the intersection of this block and this other one, and therefore we will remove this block, meaning that we consider only those blocks. Now, those blocks will be the states of the residual automaton, and again, we are going to define an initial and a final states of the automaton. Similarly, the initial states are going to be those blocks that contain epsilon. Now we can have several initial states. The final states will be the blocks whose union generates the language L. And we are going to define transitions in the same way we did before. We check whether the set of words in one block, when concatenated with a symbol, produces a set that is included in another block. This defines a framework of residual automata constructions. Given a quasi-order that satisfies the given properties, we produce a residual automaton that generates the language L. And this is one of the main contributions of our work, the definition of this framework of residual automata constructions based on quasi-orders. Now, we use this framework to offer a new and simple proof of the double reversal method for building the canonical residual automaton, and we also use it to revisit the generalization of this double reversal method. Finally, we also use this framework to offer a quasi-order based perspective of the learning algorithm NL star. In this talk, we are going to focus on the first two contributions, but we will also give a high-level description of the other two ones. Now, let me introduce formally what residual automata are. So I mentioned before that residual automata satisfy the property that every state corresponds to a natural component of the language. Now, formally, a residual automaton is an automaton where every state defines a language that is a left quotient of the language generated by the automaton. When we say that the state defines a language, we refer to the right language of that state, meaning the set of words that can be read from that state in a given automaton. And these left quotients are known as residuals, which gives the name to the class of residual automata. These left quotients or residuals are formally defined as follows. Given a word U and a language L, the quotient for U is the set of suffixes of the word U in the language L. Going back to the example we had before, we obtain the following automaton, and we can easily check that this is a residual automaton since every state defines a language that is a residual. For instance, this state defines the language L, which is the quotient for epsilon. This state defines the language AB, which is the quotient for A. Here we have the quotient for B, and finally the quotient for A. Therefore, this automaton is a residual automaton. However, it's clear that not all automata are residual. And for instance, we have this automaton that generates the same language L, but in this case, we can check that this is not a residual automaton, since we have three states which define languages that are not residuals for any word U. Let me just go over the reversal construction, which probably we are all familiar with. Basically, given an automaton, we define its reverse as the automaton that you get when replacing initial and final state and switching all the transitions. The resulting automaton generates a language that is the reverse of the language generated by the automaton N. And an interesting definition here is that if the automaton N is residual, we say that the automaton NR is co-residual, meaning that the co-residual automaton is an automaton whose reverse is residual. So to conclude these preliminaries, let me just go over the notion of quasi-order. So a quasi-order is a reflexive and transitive binary relation. In this work, we focus on quasi-orders on words, and we restrict to quasi-orders that satisfy some good properties with respect to concatenation. Now, given a quasi-order, we define the closure of a word, also known as a closed set generated by that word, and we define it as we can see here. The idea is that in the closure of a word, we put all the words that are above that given word for a certain quasi-order. Also, we define the notion of composite closed sets, a notion that I introduced before. Now, what you can see here is not the formal definition of a composite closed set. The formal definition involves looking at the quotient generated by the word U in this case. But this is a simplification that helps us to understand what's going on and help us to visualize the meaning of composite closed sets. The idea is that a composite closed set can be described using other closed sets. Like for instance, the closed set for U is the intersection of other two closed sets. For instance, in this case, we have that the closed set for X1, that you can see here in yellow, intersects with the closed set for X2 and generate the closed set for U. Therefore, the closure for U, it's composite. When a closed set is not composite, we say that it is prime. I mentioned before that we are going to focus on quasi-orders that satisfy some good properties with respect to left and right concatenation. That means that we are going to consider quasi-orders such that given two words in the same closed set, when you concatenate them with the same symbol, you obtain two words that are again in the same closed set. And we distinguish between left and right quasi-orders depending on whether we do concatenation on the left or on the right. Let's see how we build this automata using these right quasi-orders. So given a right finite quasi-order that describes precisely a language L, meaning that the closure of the language L coincides with itself, our automata construction will produce a residual automaton that generates the language L. As I mentioned at the beginning, the only thing we need to do is to remove the composite closed sets and establish the relations between the other closed sets. Now, the initial state is the closed set that contains epsilon. The final states are the closed sets whose union generates the language L, and we obtain our residual automata. If we have a finite left quasi-order, and we have a language that is described precisely by that quasi-order, we obtain a similar automata construction. In this case, again, we compute the closed sets, we remove the composite closed sets, and in this case, the initial states, it's going to be the closed set whose union generates the language L, and the final states are going to be the closed set that contain epsilon. Using this construction, we obtain a co-residual automaton that generates the given language. We can see that there exists a connection between these two automata constructions when these quasi-orders are related, meaning that if we have a right and a left quasi-order that satisfy the relation that you can see in the picture, then the automata that we obtain using our construction are the reverse of each other. So far, we have just described how our automata constructions work given an input right or left quasi-orders. Next, we're going to have a look at the specific quasi-orders that we have used in our work. First, we have considered the language-based quasi-orders, which is given by this definition, and it's also known as the right-Néraud quasi-order. Now, when we use our automata construction instantiated with this quasi-order, what we obtain is the canonical residual automaton for the language L. The language L that it's used in the definition of the language-based quasi-order. Now we can also use what we call automata-based quasi-orders, which are quasi-orders that are defined by using an automaton. In this case, we compare two words by comparing the sets post that we obtain for each of the words. The set post of U is the set of states that you can reach on the automaton N when reading U from the initial state. When using our automata construction using this quasi-order, what we obtain is a residual automaton. Now, the automaton that you obtain using this construction, it's always smaller or equal in the number of states as the automaton used with the standard residualization operation defined by Dennis. Therefore, what we define here is a slightly different residualization operation that produces a slightly smaller automata. The automata that you obtain when using this construction is denoted like this. We can see that the language-based quasi-order is coarser than the automata-based one, and therefore, the automata that we obtain when using the automata-based quasi-order in our construction has at least as many states as the one that we obtain when using the language-based quasi-order. Therefore, we always have this relation between the automata constructions. And now the question arises on when these two things coincide. And clearly, these two constructions will coincide when the quasi-orders that we use are the same. Therefore, they coincide when the Néraud quasi-order coincides with the automata-based one. Something similar happens with the left quasi-orders, where we can use the Néraud left quasi-order. And in that case, we obtain the canonical co-residual automaton for the language L. And we can also use the automata-based left quasi-order, which instead of looking at the post, the successors of a state by a given word, it looks at the predecessors. Basically, the set pre of U is the set of states from which you can reach a final state by reading U. Again, we have the same situation where the automata-based quasi-order produces larger co-residual automata than the language-based quasi-order. And again, we have that the two things will coincide when the two quasi-orders are actually the same. We can use these constructions and the results that I showed you before to offer a new perspective on the double reversal method for building the canonical residual automaton. So let's see how it works. So we start with an automaton N and we compute its reverse NR, and we apply the residualization operation to one of the automata and the co-residualization operation to the other one. And therefore we obtain these two constructions. Now, using this result that says that when two quasi-orders are related, the automata that you obtain when using our automata constructions are also related, we can prove that these two constructions are actually the reverse of each other. This is something that we prove in the paper. I'm not going to give the details here, but the idea is that computing the post of a word in an automaton coincides with computing the pre for the reverse word in the reverse automaton. Therefore, we have this part of the picture. Now we have this lemma that I mentioned before that says that the two quasi-orders, the automata base and the language base, coincide when the definitions coincide. The lemma is rather trivial. But the thing is that we know that this, if and only if, the implication is true whenever the automaton n is a corresidual automaton. And we know that this automaton res al is a corresidual automaton. Therefore, if we residualize this automaton, what we obtain coincides with applying the automata base quasi-order, meaning that this construction is isomorphic to this other one. Now we can close the picture using again the previous result. So we can co-residualize the automaton on the bottom, and what we obtain is going to be equivalent to applying the left Nerod quasi-order. And now this picture is enough to prove the double reversal method, because it basically means that we have to follow the path that starts at n, computes the reverse, then residualize, reverse, and residualize again. Therefore, this residualization operation, which I mentioned is slightly different to the one from Dennis, it also satisfies the double reversal method. And this is one of the main contributions of our work. We have shown that using our residualization operation, doing the residualization of a co-residual automaton produces the canonical residual automaton for the language of the input automaton. The idea here is that residualizing a co-residual automaton yields the canonical residual automaton. Something similar happens with deterministic automata, where determinizing a co-deterministic automaton produces the minimal deterministic automaton. Now, this property of being co-residual is a sufficient condition so that residualizing produces the minimal automaton. The question arises on whether this is a necessary condition. And the answer is that it's not necessary, and actually we can define a class of automata which includes the class of co-residual automata for which residualizing them produces the canonical residual automaton. This is what we call the generalization of the double reversal method. And we prove that residualizing with our method an automaton produces the canonical residual automaton for the language of n, if and only if for every state of the input automaton, its left language is a closed set for the Nerod quasi-order, meaning that the closure of the left language of every state coincides with itself. Now let's have a look at the learning algorithm NL star. Now the idea of this algorithm is that it keeps asking queries to an oracle in order to infer an automaton that generates a given language. And the queries it asks is whether a word belongs or not to the language. The way the algorithm works is by maintaining two finite set of words, one set of prefixes and one set of suffixes. And the algorithm groups the words in the set of prefixes according to how they behave when concatenated with the suffixes, whether the word concatenated with a certain word in the suffix belongs to the language or not. The algorithm manipulates these two sets, keeps adding elements to these sets, and keeps building automata that are candidate for being the residual automaton that we want to build until eventually it computes the right automaton. Now we can see that this algorithm can be seen as an algorithm that refines this version of the Nerod quasi-order, in which it only compares the suffixes of the words that belong to this finite set of suffixes that the algorithm manipulates. So basically, the algorithm refines this quasi-order that we can see in the picture and uses our automata construction with this quasi-order to build candidate automata. Once the algorithm has built the correct residual automaton, meaning it has produced a candidate that the oracle has validated as the automaton that generates the language that we are trying to learn, then the algorithm terminates. And that means that at this step, the refined quasi-order coincides with the Nerod quasi-order. And let me conclude by highlighting the takeaway of this presentation. The idea is that we have used quasi-orders to analyze residual automata. We have been able to explain the double reversal method and its generalization. Now, the interesting part is that we did the same for the deterministic automata in our previous work using congruences. And therefore, we obtained really similar results. For instance, in our previous work, we saw that determinizing an automaton produces the minimal deterministic automaton if and only if the closure by the right Nerod quasi-order of the left language of every state of the automaton coincides with itself. We can see that this result is closely related to the one we have obtained for residual automata. Similarly, we also prove that using our automata constructions with the congruences, with the state-based congruences, we obtain the double reversal method for deterministic automata. So we believe that these results evidence the fact that quasi-orders are fundamental for residual automata in the same way as congruences are fundamental for deterministic automata.